Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to this second session on competency building program being organized by Central Board of Education, Secondary Education, CBSE, and Media and Entertainment Skills Council. And as we had a wonderful session on illustrations in the morning, and we understood the concepts and basically storytelling through illustrations. Now, in this session, we'll be talking about creating appealing character designs because character design adds a lot of details to a story, because when you are giving a story there should be a subject, and that character becomes your subject most of the times. So to explain more on that, let's invite Siddhant again to give this session. I'd like to inform you all about Siddhant again. Siddhant Cornelis is a designer at Drizzling Media, a purpose-driven communications firm where his goal is to make brands more conversational. He has completed bachelor's in design from Symbiosis Institute of Design and worked for companies like Microsoft, Samsung Display, CNBC, Xiaomi, Network 18, Viacom 18, and many more. As we have also seen in the last session, his approach is to design his approach to design is very perspective driven and something that combines the conventional and the contemporary. So let's learn from him. Welcome, Siddhant.
Yes, thank you so much.
So, Siddhant, the session is over to you, but I'll be interrupting you a lot of times for the questions.
For sure, please do. Okay, so let's start the presentation. Okay, is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so the topic of our second session is character design. Now, see, as we studied in the previous session, which was about storytelling through illustrations. Now, there is a direct correlation with character design because obviously the story is guided by someone who has a pivotal role in it, someone who keeps the narrative moving. And that is what a character is. So just going towards the touch points, the things that we will be covering. We will have introduction where I'll speak about what exactly character design is, what it means, and what is the purpose of it. Then the second one would be the history of influential artists in India. We have had a lot of people who have come up with a lot of characters, a lot of iconic cartoons that have molded and shaped our world in a very, very exciting way. And some of the most popular characters in Indian pop culture. And also we will be talking about the real life applications, how character design helps and how we can implement things in our day-to-day lives. Then again, we will have a similar story where we will talk about a case study, speaking about a step-by-step process for character design, and then coming to tools and resources, and then concluding the session. So without further ado, introduction. Now in visual arts, character design is the full creation of a character's aesthetic, personality, behavior, and overall visual appearance. So designing a character does not just mean that you made a face, you made two legs, two hands, and you're done with it. When you're making a character, you are basically creating a personality. You are creating a living human or a living thing that has its own personality, its own likes, dislikes, its own personalities, the way it behaves, the way it reacts, the way it dresses up. And this is a crucial element in the process of creating any kind of media, be it in animation, video games, comics, films, or any sort of story that is out there. So these characters need to be designed in such a manner that they can drive the narration forward. They can help you with the storytelling aspect as well. And they can be the characters that, they are designed in a way where when the story starts and how it goes forward, you end up rooting for the character. You end up feeling that this character can go places, can do things. And all of these decision making is affected through how you design the character, how you mold the character, and how the character functions. So character designers create these as a vehicle of storytelling, and this means that it reflects on every aspect of the character, such as the shapes, the color palettes, the details that are chosen for a specific reason. Like for instance, this character that is there on the right side, like it has a sort of a cultural value where you have that samurai sword and you have the tied up hair, but just to make it more modern, to make it more hip, because this is like some sort of a samurai, but maybe in a more modern age, maybe someone who's more of a teen person, showing his bag and the kind of dressing sense and everything. So it adds to the personality of the character. Just talking about, like, it's not just a samurai or like not just a warrior, but someone who talks more about like what kind of person this is, or what kind of an approach this person takes. So the details of a character's personality often inform character designers on the visual attributes of a character. Now, the principles come in play, and these principles are the color theory, the shapes that are involved, and even the general psychology. All of these help the artist to create an effective character design. So now, say if I were to make a character who is friendly, who is like a very cute looking character, who we want the team, who we want the user to like look at and say that I want to root for this character. So these kind of characters have this challenge that you have to make them very adorable, or you have to make them a certain way that the person looks at this character and becomes emotionally driven towards the well-being of this character. And there are a few general psychological areas where how to make this character. Like if this was someone who is more of a masculine person, we would rather go for shapes that are more square in nature or more uh, sharp in nature. But where we are showing something a bit more cute, a bit more nurturing, a bit more on the feminine side, we can go for shapes that are circular, the shapes that are much more curved in the manner, like those, the shapes that you see, they transmit signals to your brain, saying that if it is something sharp, your brain reacts it in a way that you need to maybe avoid it, or maybe something that is very cautionable, whereas something that is more curved is more acceptable and more friendly in nature. And this is something that is in general the psychology of how things are. So to create a lovable character that will draw viewers and pique their interest in your product, website, presentation, or wherever it is in fact a very complicated process that requires a lot of knowledge and creativity. So say if you are making a character for a story where like this character might be a school student, so you need to keep in mind like how the student will look like, maybe like a more of a lanky sort of a appearance, where this student is very tired of the day and does not like going to school much. So all of those things like come into play, where you are structuring the general anatomy of this person, like he will walk in a bent manner or something like that. Or if there is someone who is very athletic or very health conscious, that character would have more of those sharp features, that character would be more of a dominating presence in the scene. And that is how these small attributes add up to make the character look like how it is. So now, even though there isn't a right way to design a character, there are a few steps in the process that most artists go through when they create their concepts. Because characters can be very personal to people. Characters are molded by people, sometimes keeping in mind their own personality, a piece of them or something like that. And all these different characters invoke different emotions. So every character that we see is different from each other in terms of personality, aesthetics, functionality, and everything else. And coming to India, in India, we have a very, very rich cultural heritage. Any place we go, even if we travel across states, the typography changes, the kind of color that the houses are, that changes, the kind of dressing sense changes, the language changes. And all of that comes into play when you're making a character from a native place. So all of these things also come into play. And this offers a wealth of inspiration for the character designers who are looking to create these unique and memorable characters, because they really want to dig in and they want to understand what exactly this person can do, how this person lives, and what this person wears. So all of these aspects of how this person reacts and where this person is can contribute to the visual appearance of your character itself. Now, in video games, animated TV shows, and movies, these are all driven by a story where there is a character, a protagonist, or a few characters that are there. Now, all of these characters are made in the way that these need to be very visually stimulating and memorable, because when you're working on these narrations, you really need to be invested in the character itself. If you do not like the character, you will not be invested in the journey. So first thing is to make that impression on the viewer about the character and make them invested in where this person will go, what will this person do, and whether this person will succeed or not, and things like that. That is what makes them invested. In the world of visual arts and animation, artists have the opportunity to create these characters from the absolute scratch. So basically, building a person with a personality and the character traits from scratch, understanding all aspects of what makes this person what it is. And this allows them to create the character in a very, very unique perspective. So let's explore the world of character design in India and examining the techniques and styles used to bring these characters to life in various forms of media. So the history, one second. So I guess we can take some questions if there are any for the introduction part.
Right, sir. So we'd really like to understand the difference between Indian comics and international comics. How do you, when we are talking about cultural heritage,
Yeah.
old comics that, nowadays students even don't go for it. So would really like to understand the difference between Indian comics or international.
Okay. So, the whole part of how we illustrate a superhero, that whole concept came through that all American superhero style, where this person is like well built, has a great smile, is friendly to other people, and has those character traits like how Superman is. And this character is so appealing that this was a concept that was in general inspired by other people, and that is how these superheroes are reflected in general. But when we talk about, say, a superhero who's in the United States versus a superhero who's in India, they will have different conflicts, they will have different struggles, because they have a different story, a different background. So, like for a superhero who's probably grown in India somewhere in a native area, somewhere in Haryana, maybe. So this character might not have that all American physique also. This character can be more of that akhade wala wrestler sort of a physique, because that is how you train in Haryana. And like the outfits can change, the kind of language this person speaks, the way this person behaves can be very different. from someone who might be somewhere in, say, a character from United States or a character somewhere from outside. So because there are these cultural things, there are these different areas that these people have come from and have been brought up as, will affect them in a different way. So when we design these characters, we need to think of them as humans when we are doing these effects, and we need to understand, like, as a kid, when you are told to do something, or what all teachings you have, it makes you grow into the person that you are later on. So you need to understand the pain points of the character and the conflict that the character has faced in their upbringing, and that is what molds them into what they are in the current scenario.
Okay, so we actually get influenced by the characters. So,
Yeah.
a very interesting question. What's your favorite Indian comic character and why?
Indian comic character. So I used to travel a lot, and I used to travel a lot by train. So every time I was traveling, I used to either grab those comics that were on railway station, and it used to have that Nagraj comics. So although it was such a bonkers concept where, like, Nagraj had the power of shooting snakes from his wrist, like how Spider-Man does. But I was very emotionally invested on like what is happening and everything, because like some of these things. When you're a kid and you read these things, you start rooting for these characters. So I mean, this was something like I used to read when I was small. So till now I remember this character because I've read so much of it.
Right. So, do you think teachers should encourage students to read comics to understand more characters?
Obviously, I think comics can do a very good character study, because obviously they are visual in nature. So they will show like how the character looks, how the character reacts, and like the kind of aura that the character has, the presence that the character has in a particular scene. And this thing can make in general, students or even teachers aware of like how people react and how uh, other people can be. It is a very eye opening sort of a thing where you start relating to other people.
Indeed, I've seen people reacting the character's way. For example, if any character reacts like this, suddenly you'll see the students or the kids who are not even very expressive, they start coming out of their shell and start pretending like a character, and slowly, gradually turns their character of introvert to extrovert.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I'd like to add this thing that if there is a good narration, people get very, very invested in the character's journey. Like I know this, like how things are right now. The anime culture is very popular right now, where people are watching these animes and reading these mangas, which are all Japanese and Korean and everything. And like I remember I have a younger brother, so I remember him reacting to one episode and he's like, "How can he die?" or something like that. So because he's been watching it for so many seasons, and he was very invested in it, and that's what happens if there is a good narration and you've seen this person like move from one place to another in front of your eyes. You tend to form a bond. You tend to start caring for the character.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Shall we move forward?
Yes, please.
All right. So, yeah, coming to the history of influential people in India for character design, let's have a look at some of the aces from the Indian cartoon industry who have managed to leave a treasure of legacies. And what better to start with? We have R.K. Lakshman. See, in India, I think R.K. Lakshman is the most synonymous cartoonist that is there. Like everyone knows who R.K. Lakshman is, even if some of these new generation people might not have seen the comic strips in the newspapers. Still, the name is heard everywhere because this person has had such a great impact in the culture, in the industry, and everything. And his comic strip, you said it, in Times of India, has given birth to a much adored and relatable common man, the character in his biography. The Tunnel of Time, R.K. Lakshman mentions that he used to derive these inspirations by observing the mundane things of life, like objects he would see outside the window, from dry twigs to lizard-like creatures and crows in various postures. So, this is something where I guess in the last session we were talking about observation. So this is all about, you know, we all might be seeing the same thing, but how are we processing it is very different. So R.K. Lakshman used to see these day-to-day things, but he used to make these cartoons, look in a certain way where it has always been there, but we have never really noticed. It was always something like that. And his art was uncommonly common through his attention to these details. So, for example, on the left side, as you can see, this is something like there's a village situation, and there's this kid who is getting punished by the teacher, and how he's reacting to it. He's just trying to dodge it and something, and the expressions and everything is so nicely illustrative, and it's something which is very simple, but how it is made and how invested you become in this is amazing. Again, in the second part, where the right side of the illustration, where you see, this reminds me of that Kolaba area where you have all these street vendors and everything, and newspapers are lying around, and there's these people who are not very happy with how life is going or something like that. But newspapers around them showcase like happy faces or smiling faces, which is very ironical in nature. So it is very simple detail, but when you like literally observe it, when you see it, you can understand the hidden meaning. And it's not just that, it's like, for me the meaning might be this, but for someone else they can grasp it in a different way. Now coming to K. Shankar Pillai, he was popularly known as the father of political cartooning in India. Shankar Pillai started his work as a cartoonist in 1930s, and his work included satirical caricaturing of political leaders to viceroys of India to cartoons for children. His illustrations and his, all the cartoons and everything were made in a way where he wanted to educate the audience. He wanted to send out a message. He wanted to show what is happening in the world, what is happening in India, in a satirical manner, so that it's easier for people to like understand the subject. And his weekly publication by the name Shankar's Weekly famously published some 4,000 odd cartoons of then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. So as you can see in the works, like on the left side, you can see there's this person who is starving, but he's still carrying the flame. He's running. He's being starved and everything, and it sends out a very political message towards like what is happening in the country and things like that. And again, in the right side, there are these people in the rural area when they are asked to vote, and that is when it is shown like people are approaching them like with open hands and trying to offer their services. Now coming to Maya Kama, so I really like her work, especially because she has a very intriguing topic, and she has a very good collection of illustrations that are there. And with only 15 years of work to show, she has indeed displayed her talent with the cartoons depicting the rights that women in India had been denied. And she is one of the few like female cartoonists who have made a very big impact. And she always like fights for these rights and everything, and show like how unfortunate social and economic background has been, which has made the women to be considered as frail or as the weaker sex. So as you can see in the works, and the right side, if you see, this is one of my favorite illustrations of her, where like it says, "Frailty, thy name is women." And as you can see, she is multitasking. She is holding the babies, taking care of the kids. She is cooking food, whereas balancing things on her head, and as well as she is trying to like get the man unconscious. And on the left side, like there's this person who's dressed up as Durga, and this person's just come here and he's saying it's a new millennium, new strains of demons for you to deal with. So it just shows like, although we give all that work to them and everything, and we still consider them as a weaker uh, sex. And it's very thought provoking, and it's very fresh for that time.
Right, absolutely. And also when we are talking about comics, even if you remember Malgudi days,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
had all kind of illustration, even different characters prevailing from different categories of the society,
Hmm.
rich, poor, underprivileged, and different various things were there. And like, what do you say about that as well?
It's about like how what message is the person trying to get across, because as we spoke about character design as well, we need to understand the conflict and the pain points that the person is going through, because this is a very good case study of why Maya Kamak has just this streamlined approach of the topics that she has taken, because she has obviously faced these issues in real life, and that is how she is trying to send this message across, that we are not the weaker sex here, we are doing much more than what you think we do. And that's how all the artists, everyone, each and every person, not just artists, have a different conflict in life, have a different pain point, and that is how they address things. So everywhere you will find, like, even though sometimes there is a similar topic, but it might be a different approach, it might be a different sort of a way of explaining it. Like for example, I have shown the RK Lakshman sketches, where RK Lakshman used to take inspiration from the day-to-day lives, and so did Mario Miranda, who I have in my next slide or somewhere. Yeah, Mario Miranda. So let me first draw comparisons with RK Lakshman and Mario Miranda and explain this thing. So, Mario Miranda is my favorite personally in as an Indian cartoonist. I really love the approach he takes, and he was famed for his fantastic illustrations in Times of India and the Illustrated Weekly of India. I used to read the newspapers just to see his comic strip, and Mario Miranda has definitely glorified his spot as one of the top-notch cartoonists in India. So, his real life cartoons have always portrayed a strong imagery of the daily life, similar to how RK Lakshman does. But if you see, RK Lakshman focuses more on the character, like the common man or something, whereas Mario Miranda, although has a similar approach, focuses more on the setting, more on the background, and more on like where things are taking place. For example, if you see the works on the left side, like you can see there are maybe some uninvited guests who just come in, and they are wearing like these bathing clothes and everything, and everyone is looking at them. So, the whole thing about this is the setting of the place. And I used to love his work because he used to keep very minute funny details in the background. So if you see, like, everyone is looking at them, and then when you see, like, there's this image, there's this photograph of an elderly, and that person is also looking at them in shock, like, what is happening? So, like, this is how, like, he used to elevate the humor. Even on the right side, so the royal guard is not supposed to, like, move around or even talk or smile or anything. So, the whole idea of this is that it's taking place in that area where, like, this guy is standing and he cannot move, and people are just there crowding around him and taking photos of him continuously, and he can't do anything and he's blushing, if you can see. So, they have similar approaches, him and RK Lakshmi, but they have a different way of showing it. RK Lakshman used to do this through his characters, whereas, Mario Miranda has characters, but his narration is driven through the backdrop of the story.
Sorry, I'm not able to stop myself from saying this, that these illustrations, they actually tell the entire story in one go.
Exactly. Like, you don't even need a comic strip for these. They are so self-sufficient. And, for Mario Miranda especially, the more you look into it, the more you will get out of it. Because he used to hide a lot of hidden meanings in the background. Then coming to Pran Kumar Sharma. So he was more popularly known as Pran. He was one of the most well-known cartoonists in India. And he was the force behind the creation of India's favorite cartoon character, Chacha Chaudhary. And he initiated his career in 1960 as a cartoonist for the Delhi-based newspaper Milak with a comic strip called Dabu. And in 1968, he made the Chacha Chaudhary comic strip for the Hindi magazine Lotpo. So, and uh, Chacha Chaudhary, I guess everyone has read, everyone knows about it. I'll tell you the inspiration behind Chacha Chaudhary that Pran had stated. So he had said that the inspiration of making Chacha Chaudhary was that he was very influenced by, how there are elder people in the villages who offer their wisdom to solve conflicts and everything. And in every family there is this elder person who everyone turns to make decisions. So that is the inspiration behind Chacha Chaudhary, and he really wanted people to relate Chacha Chaudhary as, like, one of their own wise person who they can, like, turn to and be reliable towards. Because as it is said in the comics also, like, Chacha Chaudhary ka dimag computer se bhi tez chalta hai. So he had all that backdrop and all that setting that made people like welcome him in such a big way. Any questions?
So do you have reminded most of the teachers of their childhood days? Because I'm getting messages that Chacha Chaudhary used to be their favorite. And I think he was very smart man, and having Sabu also when it got added to the comics was
Yeah,
a wonderful thing to have Sabu and Chacha Chaudhary.
that was the perfect combination of what we say, brain and brawn.
Yeah, right.
Okay, shall I move forward
Yes,
or is there
please.
anything?
Yes.
Okay. So currently we were just talking about the artists and what they have contributed. Now let's speak about some of the most popular characters that we have seen in the Indian pop culture. So starting with R.K. Lakshman's The Common Man. The iconic character, Common Man, came to life in the year 1951 to portray the hopes, aspirations, troubles, and success of the common Indian. So this is where, like how I was talking about, R.K. Lakshman used to drive his story through a character showing the day-to-day lives. And because the common man was such a repeated element in all his comic strips, like people had started rooting for the character. Like, you know, this person is struggling and this person is put in these situations, but he will make it, or he will be fine. And people used to be very much invested in, like, where is he going to be next, or what is he going to do next. Coming to our Chacha Chaudhary and Sabu. So, as I spoke about them, they are the perfect combination of brain and brawn. Yeah, Pran was inspired from the ancient philosopher Chanakya and elder people of every village who reside to help and solve problems by their elderly experience. And that is what was the main inspiration for him to start making this character. And for some of the people who don't know this, I also found this recently only when I was researching about it. So Sabu is supposed to be an alien from Jupiter who just landed in Chacha and Chachi Chaudhary's house, and he just started treating him like a son. So this just shows like how nice and how welcoming Chacha Chaudhary was. Coming to Supandi, one of my favorite characters. He is a comic character who appears in Tinkle. Supandi is typically a village simpleton and is still considered the most famous among the characters appearing in Tinkle. He made his debut in the issue number 27 in January 1983. So, although he is someone who is a village simpleton, I think what roots him is that he is not a perfect character. He keeps on making mistakes again and again. And it's just he's someone who is such a nice and humble person, and he's trying to do good for people. But things keep happening in the background, and people who try to keep on coming in between. It's just like he doesn't even try and still gets out of it. And it serves a very good moral where it says, like, he is a good person at heart, and how that's why good things happen to him. So that is a very nice thing, and I think that is why people root for the character. The Amul girl. So Amul girl was the advertising mascot used by Amul. It, as we have seen, this character was introduced wearing this polka dotted frock and with blue hair and a half pony tied up. So, she has been used in so many advertising concepts and has been used in so many different ways to have a very humorous sort of messaging to go through. And we've seen this on billboards, on newspapers, on advertisements. And this is a very, very iconic creation, which, it was made in the early 1900s, and still we haven't updated the character because it is so iconic and everyone relates to it. It's just we keep tweaking her situations, and like where she's always like chasing some Amul product, Amul butter or something like that. Coming to Shikari Shambhu, again, like a very, very fun character. Shikari Shambhu is also one of the characters who appeared in Tinkle. He appeared in 1983 and was created by Vasant Halbe and Luis Fernandez. Shikari Shambhu is, I think, he people really like the story because, he's the kind of character who never does anything, but and he's a very like scaredy cat. He keeps running from situations, but somehow or the other ends up being the hero of the story. And like it's a very very funny way how they narrate it, like how luck favors him all the time. And I think that is why people really like him. Yeah. If there are any questions, we can address them now.
So, when you are showing all these characters, what how do teachers promote reading of comics to the students? Because nowadays they want to watch it on TV or they want to play games, but nobody goes for comics. So, how can we encourage them?
Hmm. See, characters can be featured anywhere. It can be in comics, it can be in video games, it can be in movies as well. I think the only part is the whole idea of me going through these characters is like why people love them and why it makes them so iconic. So, why people get invested in understanding, like, why will Shikari Shambhu, how will he face the tiger when he's so afraid of it? But somehow he always uh, is the victor at the end. So I think it is when we talk about characters specifically, it's all about creating these lovable characters who you can embark on a journey with. And say if this character is someone is who is a student, so you start thinking of it this way, like why is this character say lacking in studies and what he does, and how we can relate to it. This character can be anyone in the classroom, and you can just address every child's pain points through this character and understand that how you can tackle it, how they can tackle it. And maybe if that character is, if the kids are driven by the character, they start pushing uh, for themselves as well.
Yeah, like for example, Mighty Raju can't dance. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So now coming to a step-by-step process for character design. As I mentioned before, we do not have exactly what steps we need to take, because every character is personal to a person, and every character is molded in a different way. But there are certain steps that you initially go with while constructing or while coming up with the idea. So the first one is obviously the briefing, the under the statement that makes you understand why are you making this character. So I've shown this through a perspective where the client has given it. And in this way, you can maybe think of it as you have given an assignment to a student who needs to create a character of their own personality. So the first thing that the person will need to do is that they need to start brainstorming. So say like if I were to brainstorm, I would put my name in the middle, Siddhant, and then I will like branch out with all the characteristics that I have. Like if I'm like a very lazy person, or if I'm someone who is driven, or someone who sometimes music can be a very good derivation, the kind of music I like, or maybe whatever it is. So it can be an ex the it can be the persona of the student itself. It can talk about maybe what the student is right now or what the student aspires to be. And it can, since it is a character design and not a human design, it can be anything. It can be a fruit, it can be a human, it can be anything that we don't even know what it is. Like if you see on the left and the right side, like say this is something like where people are thinking that okay, these are the kind of eyes that this person has, or like maybe has spiky hair or curly hair, or what kind of a build that this person has. And I think character design in social media also is very currently up there, because I see in a lot of platforms, people are creating their own virtual avatars, which are reflections of themselves, or like what they want to be. So I think this is something where a lot of their characteristics come to play. So the briefing is exactly where you just try to understand like the series of suggestions for like what will be the type of traits, mentality, emotions of the character, and the overall mood it will communicate to the viewer. Like this is something how what reminds me of the Monsters Inc., where there was this blue character who was huge, but he was a very caring and nurturing character. Then coming to research. So, research is something which is absolutely necessary in whatever you do, whether it is about creating characters, whether it's about creating a cartoon strip, or in general, working on something, you should start with the research and what is already out there. So depending on the type of character the artist will be designing, they need to do a lot of research on the real thing before they even sketch. So say if I'm working on a eagle who is a pilot, I will start with seeing like how the eagle looks like and how the eagle reacts, how the eagle flies and things like that. And since my idea is to make the eagle a pilot, I will start researching on how these pilots and these aviators dress up or what are their mannerisms. So keeping that in mind, my anatomy would be of the person who I'm trying to put the character in. So the anatomy would be of an aviator. The mannerisms would be of an aviator, whereas the look and feel and how the character reacts, because it has wings for hands. So that is why you need the character study as well. So all of this research comes to play when you have to show any kind of movement or any kind of interactions. And this way, the research will not only give you a full idea of how these animals act, walk, or what makes them unique, but will also immerse you on a deeper level of like what this character would be like in the real world, or any fictionalized world that we're trying to portray it in. Now, the research for the character design usually includes a reference sheet. Now, reference sheet might be a form of the mood board where the references are related to the elements you need for the characters. Say that I'm making that eagle character, then I will start seeing what kind of clothes that it's going to wear, and if I'm going to put any elements on it, or how I'm going to maybe stylize it. How if you're making this eagle, the board will include these images of real eagles in motion or resting images, and how their feathers react, how the retro pilot helmets and everything is going to be. For the anatomy one, in order to create it effectively, it is very necessary to understand like what all shapes are there that contribute to the anatomy. So you know how there are building blocks and everything. So we start with basic shapes of how the character is going to look like, and then we draw on it to make it more organic. And the style is where your character should be suitable for the project in terms of style. In short, it shouldn't look alien in the middle of its surroundings. Like this is where our storytelling aspect or the illustration aspect comes, where we have to keep everything in mind. We have to keep the objective in mind. Say if I'm making a comic strip which is based off on this character, then the surroundings will have to be in a way where it suits the character's origins. It looks like the character belongs in that world. And the mood is how does your character fit and what does he bring to the story. Is your character a merchant, a client, an educator, or something else? Is the character like smart, joyful, formal, or goofy? So all of this will, contribute to even how the script is, how your character will react to if someone asks the character something, and if what will the mannerisms will be, how will the character walk, because like someone with a lot of suave would like walk a bit loosely and have that kind of an expression where they are very laid back and chill, whereas someone who is like very uptight will always have that kind of a very strict sort of a face and like a very serious style of walking and marching and everything. And the overall vibe is also an important thing to take into consideration of the design. Like who am I building it for, and what kind of emotions am I trying to convey to the user? Is it like something which is humorous? Is it something which is informational? Or is it something that is serious? So the messaging and everything will decide the kind of colors that we are going to use as well. So coming to the sketching part, we always start with a rough version of the sketch. We start with like the basic shapes and we start brainstorming how it can be or what it can be. Do not try to make a final look of it, but like you can just start with brainstorming and doing rough scribbles of it. So the more sketches you make, the better you will feel and understand your character. The easier you will create the best final version of it. And shapes are a very very big part of uh, a character design. Shape is a solid base of the character, and you can adjust it and draw variations, a lot of variations, until you decide on the final look. It also helps in trying to understand the perspective of things. And drawing small thumbnails can help rather than starting with the final. So to illustrate that the shape is the core of your design, here's an example of how any kind of shape can be instantly imagined as a character. So, these shapes, if you see on the top, are just random shapes. But once you get into the creativity of it, once you start imagining, and these shapes can help you derive the personality also, like this is like a sharp edge. So this is something where, this character can be somewhat of a rebel person, and that is how it becomes. And then, here you have like more of a chunky sort of a shape. So the character can be a bit more bulky, character can be a bit more on the friendly side. And that is how, a lot of these shapes can convey the kind of nature that the character can have.
When you're talking about the shapes and moods and other things, what's your say on the representing these shapes in the character? Like, you have given different shapes, and what is the character derived from these shapes?
Hmm. So that's what I like. The psychology of shapes is, like a curved shape is considered more accessible and more friendly, whereas a sharp shape is something which tends to be more of like something which is more on the rebel side, or something which is more serious, or more villainous when it comes to making a character. Like how you see the final boss in any movie has a lot of spiky sort of elements and all these things. And like if you see the yellow shape here, it's a very nice and curved shape. So this is considered a very friendly shape, and that is how the character here has been made. It's a very like chubby character and someone who's very friendly looking. Whereas on this one, the brown shape, this is a straight sharp edge. So this is like where you can imagine what like a maybe a antagonist sort of a character can be developed upon. And as you can see here, it justifies that with the elements and the kind of eyes, the kind of face that this person is making. So even though, if you just see this, it does not make a lot of sense. But once you start putting in elements, you will start understanding that these shapes, the contour of the shape, contour is the outline or the shadow when you see. It really tells about the kind of character this person is. If this person is going to be very built, it's going to have a lot of squares and a lot of sharp edges. If this person is going to be like more of a friendly person, then it's going to have a lot of basic circles and curve shapes. Yeah, coming to the color scheme, the last step in character creation is choosing a suitable color palette that reflects everything the character represents, from its personality to concept of the project it will be used in. And in some cases, the character can be a mascot of a brand. So when something like that happens, then you need to make sure that you are incorporating the brand colors that are there. Because like how if McDonald's has has a mascot which is Ronald McDonald. So McDonald's uses the same color scheme, which is red and yellow, portrayed in the mascot. So that even if you just see the mascot without even the McDonald's logo nearby, you can have that color scheme in mind and you can have a recall back to the McDonald's. So that is how branding in mascots work. And therefore, it would be natural for the character to wear the brand or product colors or, complement those colors well. In other cases where the character is part of the presentation, it's also logical to support the organization or education center colors. So all these colors make a sense of belonging to whatever brand or whatever story that the character is representing. Yeah. Uh, Let me know if there are any questions for this.
I was just going through the list of questions. No, although I'm not sure if it's practical, it has come from some teacher. They are saying, do you think it's a good idea to have a competition between students to create their own character? Uh,
Okay. I don't know about the competition because all the characters that the students create of their own is going to be a part of their own persona. So competing them with their characters can be a bit more personal, but we don't want to say that like your character, thus your persona, is weaker than the other person's persona, which will give a different messaging. But to give a task of making a character based on your personality is a very good exercise that we can do.
okay, so you recommend practice or
Yeah,
you know
but not the competing part.
competition. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. So this kind of practice can be done for different characters, or giving one character in classroom and then letting can students decide what character they create out of it.
Yeah. I think this was something that we had discussed also, where I was saying that we can give them some traits which are not very physical in nature, but something that talks about the aesthetic or the mood or everything like that. And we can give that to the people and they will mold it according to themselves.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So coming to the real life application for character design. Okay. So the first thing is the power of visual communication. So character design teaches us that visuals can communicate a lot more than words. And the design of a character can convey their personality, emotions, backstory, and even their goals and motivations. So this is a reminder of the importance of visual communication in our daily lives. This is how, even not just about a character, but this is how people see people when they approach them or when they see them on the street or somewhere. People sometimes make a opinion of the other person by just seeing how this person is dressed or how this person is carrying himself or herself. And that also becomes like that itself is visual communication. Like it is trying to tell, like, this person is probably a designer, or this person is probably someone who might be a mathematician or a scientist, given the kind of look or the way they are carrying themselves. And yeah, this is a reminder of how important visual communication is in our daily lives. Every day that we go out, we dress up, and uh, people look at you and sometimes form an opinion about, like, this person might be like this, even though it might not be true. But that is how it happens. People can perceive you in that way until you have communicated with them. And that is just like visual communication. That is just you talking. And there is a sense of belonging also that happens. Like, for a example, if I'm someone who's gone to a music concert and I'm wearing some band t-shirt or something, and I see another person wearing a band t-shirt. So, even though I haven't interacted with the person, I will probably think of that person as like someone who is similar to me because of my taste, or because it's just like the way he is dressed up or she is dressed up. And that is the power of visual communication. That gives you a sense of belonging, that gives you a sense of, you can converse with the next person. Now, the importance of storytelling. These characters are often designed with a specific story in mind, and their appearances and personality reflect that story. So this teaches us the value of storytelling in all aspects of life, from marketing and advertising to even personal relationships. And it's a compelling story that can help us connect with others on a deeper level and create more meaningful experiences. Like, for example, if someone were to approach me with a question, and if I were to just give them an answer saying that, like, you can do this or do that, and just be on their way. But rather than that, if you just tell them you can do this or do that because this thing can be better for you or that thing can be better for you, so that adds more value to the conversation. That adds more importance to why you're telling the story of because. And that is how, even when we talk about character design, why is this character looking like this? It is because this character had this sort of an experience back then. So there is always that storytelling aspect which molds a character, or which molds even like our personal conversations or relationships in a certain way. Now, coming to diversity and representation. So character design is something that can also teach us about the importance of diversity and representation. By creating characters that are from different backgrounds, cultures, and identities, even characters that are not human. That is just explaining the kind of leaps and bounds you can go to with your imagination. You can just go bonkers with the character. You can put the nose somewhere else, you can put the eye somewhere else. That is your choice. And it's like, when people make characters, there are different cultural backgrounds when you're creating humans, and this can help promote a lot of inclusivity and acceptance in the society. And this is a very important lesson for all of us, to strive to build a more equitable and just world, where our stories hero can be anyone, any person with any sort of culture or identity or background. And the fourth point is attention to detail. So character design requires a high level of attention to detail, or as we discussed in the last part, observation. Observation is a very key part here as well. And from the shape of the character's eyes to the texture of their clothing, this teaches us the importance of paying attention to the little things in our own lives as well, whether it's in our work relationships or personal growth. It's all about focusing on the details. We can create something truly unique and special if we were to just observe, pay attention, and try to understand what is going on. Yeah. Any questions on this?
So when we are talking about real life application and they are trying to sketch, there are few people who are creative in mind, but they can't sketch. Can they also create characters using some applications?
By applications, what do you mean?
Some tools, some softwares that they
See,
can match the shapes and something can be done.
I think first of all, the character can, it does not need to look very aesthetic. Like I said, how superheroes are perceived in a way where they they have this perfect jawline and they have all kinds of muscles and everything who are portrayed in a perfect manner. Our character does not need to be perfect. Our character can be anything and anyone. And the tools, I would say, I would still say that we are not striving for being perfect. We are striving for uh, us to put ourselves out there. So still, I would say that paper and pencil. But if you want to work on softwares, I think Procreate is the best software, I would say, for sketching and character design and everything like that. Let me give you an
Okay, so you
example.
mean,
Sorry.
sorry, so you mean the basics, pencil and paper are the best tools to actually start creating,
Hmm.
right? They can scribble, they can doodle, and then one day they will come up with something nice, right?
Yeah, yeah. And this is not in my presentation, but since this is a question and I have my iPad with me, I think I can maybe show this on the
Sure.
camera just to give you an idea. So this is a character that I am making. It's a work in progress.
Okay.
So, this is something which requires a bit of intricate details and to know the skills and everything. Whereas there is another character that am developing, which it's bina sar pair wala is what they say. No, it's very very abstract, but this is still a character. So like there can be a lot of difference, a lot of experimentation. Even like this is something which can be considered a character. This is like there's no skill to it. This is just me experimenting with things. So I think our character shouldn't strive for being like positivized, perfect or anything. But I think it should just have the capability of um, making the user or making the audience uh, communicate it and you know make them feel something about the character.
Right. Thank you.
Any more questions on this?
Uh, no, sir. Thank you.
Okay. This is a video I would like to show of this person. So this is a open door creative channel, and they keep giving these design tasks and everything. So I would just like to show how this person makes a mascot for a retro brand. So keeping in mind, like say Nike is a retro brand. So how will you create the concept of it? Is the video audible to you?
Oh no, it's not audible.
Okay, let me share it again, 1 second. Yeah, is it audible now?
Shops. In
Yes.
my book,
Okay. So as you can see here, the creative brief is to let's get retro. And the assignment overview is nostalgia. It's one of the most powerful ways to create an emotional connection with your audience and influence them to positively perceive your brand. A great way to spark nostalgia is through retro design, but in today's assignment, we are not just focusing on vintage design style, we are also focusing on one of the most popular advertising tactics of 1900s, the brand mascot. So what this person has done, he's taken up the brand Nike and he's just trying to make a mascot who would have been there in the 1900s.
nostalgia. It's one of the most powerful ways to create an emotional connection with your audience and influence them to positively perceive your brand, to keep watching, to buy. A great way to spark nostalgia is through retro design, incorporating design elements from decades past into the work of today. But in today's assignment, we're not just focusing on vintage design style. We're also focusing on one of the most popular, most successful, most prevalent advertising tactics of the 1900s. One that focused on improving brand recognition one company at a time, the brand mascot. From the Quaker Man and Mr. Peanut to Ronald and the Pillsbury Doughboy, iconic characters have blessed the advertising world. And now, it's our turn. Let's design backwards and create a character from another time. Instructions. First, pick a brand. Second, design a character or mascot for that brand utilizing retro design elements. But what are those design elements that can give us that walk down memory lane aesthetic we're looking for? Design styles have drastically changed from era to era, so you might want to pick a decade or mix and match timelines as you see fit. Maybe you'll pick the earthy tones of the 50s, the bold hues of the 60s, funky colors of the 70s, or neon pops of the 80s. Some other design elements to keep things looking old school are clean illustrations, outlines.
So this is just to show like how, a lot of color combinations can relate to a certain period of time. And that's how this person is trying to decide the color scheme as well.
Simplistic and minimal color palettes, grungy textures, geometric shapes, flat graphics, and freeform typography. All or a blend of those should do the trick. I'll go first. Due to my absolute obsession, the brand that I'm choosing today is Nike. Shocker. And for the time period and style of my character, I am going 1920s rubber hose cartoon. First up, let's make a list of possible character ideas. Obviously a characterized swoosh, maybe a basketball man, shoebox boy.
So, this is where you start brainstorming and this is where you start noting down your ideas. So every time you start with a paper and pencil before going to anything digital.
Oh snap, hold the press.
Yeah. So as you can see, he started from scratch and the whole idea was to have that 1920s Mickey Mouse vibe and taking the product for Nike, which was the shoe, and making a mascot out of it. So, that's how all the steps and all the ideas come together to create that final visual. So this is one thing where like how someone can approach a process. And the second one is where I would like to just show you something about Pixar's character designs. And how these animators and all these artists, they create some small details and small shapes that come in play to mold the character's personality.
Design at all. It starts with the story. Pixar has always been a story-driven studio that tells character-driven stories, whether it's a fish trying to find his lost son or a toy cowboy trying to remain relevant in the eyes of a child. Pixar's stories are a blueprint for three-dimensional characters. Each character they create, from the lead character to the comedic relief, has their own unique personality. So it only makes sense that they take those personalities and use them to build on their character design. But it's not as simple as something like taking a goofy character and making them long and dangly. Woody's clumsy limbs would suggest that he's a far more goofy character than he actually is. A lot of animated films fall into that trap, opting to go with the low-hanging fruit of their basic characterization rather than the true character of their subject. Not Pixar though. Take for instance, Sully from Monsters Inc. His contradictory design tells the story of the change that he goes through the film. On the surface, he's a huge hulking monster that's designed to frighten children. But on the other hand, his brightly colored fur makes him feel warm and inviting and almost makes you just want to hug him. Or take violent.
So yeah, this is where, the personality trait comes in place, where although this character has a huge and, like a very tormenting sort of a body, but this character also has a nurturing side to it. And the fur, the colors and everything that come to play give more depth to the character.
From The Incredibles. Her black hair, her pale skin, and her dark wardrobe seems like it screams emo loner. But in actuality, her loner look says a lot about her shy and unconfident personality. Everything from the way she clutches her books to her chest to the way her hair covers her face shows that she's closing herself off from the world and everyone in it. Every single detail about a character's design can tell you who they are before they've even said 2 words on screen. Everything from a character's size to their hair to their length to their colors can tell you a story about who they are before they've even said 2 words on screen.
Now, this is what exactly visual communication is. Without even them speaking about anything, the way they have dressed up, the mannerisms and everything, you just have a look and you already have like something in mind that how this character might be.
Pixar's colors have warmth and saturation to them. There's an actual science to color, and Pixar has mastered it. There are colors that we subconsciously assign to things, and because of that, when we see these colors, we have visceral reactions to them. A sleek, cool bachelor becomes a loving father and a family man just by the change of the color of his costume. Even when you're trying to show a character's deceit, you can use colors to do so. Lotso hugging bear shocks us on screen when he is proven to be the villain of Toy Story 3. But subconsciously, it cuts us even deeper because he has such a warm and inviting color scheme. His magenta fur doesn't scream he's a villain, it actually purposely draws you in to believe the opposite, which from a story.
So this is a very fun part where they have intentionally made the bear look friendly and have used the colors to make the user subconsciously feel that this cannot be someone who is a bad character, because all the visual traits that it has are like very friendly and very accepting. But the whole point of it is to like distract the user from understanding who the real villain is in the movie.
Story point is exactly what the filmmakers want you to think. Teddy bears become shockingly menacing, princesses become heroic, rats become friendly, all because of the color palette used to portray them. In Ratatouille, Remy's color isn't drab and gray like how normal rats are. It has hints of blue, and it's a lot more eye-catching and eye-pleasing and honestly inviting. This is a rat. This is Remy. Which one looks more inviting to you? Imagine making Joy orange or Mr. Incredible's suit purple. It's not the same. Not just because you're not used to those colors, but because the colors that were used subconsciously does something to you and tells a story about who the character is. But beyond color theory and beyond character development, we want to look at pretty things. Things that are easy on the eyes, especially in animation. It's true. Our brains make us enjoy looking at cute things by rewarding us with dopamine, a chemical that makes us feel intensely happy. The physical traits of babies are something that we find extremely cute and releases that dopamine into our brain. So when we see those traits on animated characters, we feel a little bit more attachment to them. Things like animals or toys or even cars.
So this explains that this is not just something where only visual comes to play. All these colors, all these things about the character can trigger our senses and subconsciously make us have an opinion about them without even interacting with the character or without even seeing the character interact.
Feel a bit more when they have childlike traits. All designers know this. It's the soft and exaggerated features that make us fall in love. You can see this everywhere from Mac computers to BB-8 and R2-D2 from Star Wars. And Pixar has somehow mastered this more so than any other studio the world over. It's not just a childlike look.
So this is a good example as well, where he speaks about the MacBook. So all the MacBooks, if you've seen, they have like these curved spaces, just telling that this is more user friendly. Whereas if you have seen like a gaming laptop or something like that, that has more sharper features, talking about that this is something which is more action related, or something which is more uh, maybe on a heavier side of things. So I guess these are some of the characteristics and everything that subconsciously make us decide things, and it's very psychological in nature. Also, to give you an idea of how and why we get connected to the characters, this is a small case study which I had done some time back. This was like I was creating a comic strip, and it was about a series of episodes that talk about preservation of sand, water, and ocean. But this was going to be, the protagonist of the series was going to be a Daphnia, which is a sea animal. And on the right, as you can see, this is the real image of Daphnia. And this isn't very like user friendly or something that is very inviting. So the first step of character design for me would be, if I am to talk about preservation of sand, water, and ocean, my character, my main character needs to have emotions and needs to be more animated in nature, so that people can get invested with the character, and people can, when Daphnia says that we need to preserve the ocean, people should actually be impacted by it. People should actually have a thought about it. So, like these were some of the sketched options, taking just the basic shape of Daphnia, but then curving it and making it different. So just making it more user friendly. And then once one of the designs was selected, making a compositional sketch with the surroundings, where how Daphnia would look in a surrounding or something, and then coming to a digital sketch with color, where like how it's going to look and everything. And the whole point is that for us to make people worried about the environment is for us to make them worry about the characters who are in the comic strip, so that they can see that these guys are facing issues, and have that thing etched in our head, that this thing is happening outside and we need to do something about it. So this was one of the first episodes where we are talking about sand. And even when there was sand particles or anything, as it was mentioned, I knew that I had to make it like look very cute and very approachable, so that when people see the sand particle, they should be like, oh no, this shouldn't go extinct or anything like that. They should worry about the character, because they should start uh, feeling kinds of emotions that this character might not exist or anything like that. So that is where psychology comes in play, where in your mind you get connected with the character, but in the end my message is about preservation of sand. And if you get invested in saving the character, you are anyways getting invested in saving the sand, or like that. So the whole idea, the whole messaging is to make people get invested in the character that you make, if your messaging is about like saving something or doing something. Yeah. Any questions about this?
Yes, definitely. I'm checking my questions here. And okay, how to motivate the students to create their own stories and characters the way you have described?
I think this is where we were talking about students creating their own characters. This is more about a self-exploration exercise, where you start listing down what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. And this is something which I'll tell you, we guys had this exercise when I was in college a long time back. And before we had our placements, this was a very fun exercise that we had done, which was I had to list down what are my strengths and what are my weaknesses and what do I bring to the table, like wherever I'm interviewing or anything, and what are my pain points. So once you start understanding what is your strengths and what are your weaknesses, that is the most important part, to know your weaknesses. If you know what your weakness is, then you can work towards it. So to motivate students to make characters or to do this is to do an exercise where it's more about the self exploration, where they can try to understand the areas they can better themselves.
Okay, so you mean uh, character making, character designing can support children in making their own personality, in their own personality development as well?
Yeah, exactly. The characters that we draw are aspirational. We want to be the characters sometimes that we see. And that is a reflection of what a child might want to be. And so it just puts out a visual where, this is my goal and these are my strengths and weaknesses. So if I work towards this, I can be this.
And then they can imagine themselves in different situations, like different frames you have mentioned.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Okay, so coming to the tools and resources, again, the best resource to anything sketching related is paper and pencil. I'm going to keep repeating this because a lot of people who want to get into this have these notions where they say that getting into the stream requires a lot of technological investments and everything, and you need to have a lot of gear and all. But honestly, if you have paper and pencil and a curious mind, you are good to go. So in theory, you can create a character just as well using pen and paper or a computer. However, the best tools won't mask bad ideas or lack of art foundations. So you need to be conceptually strong and you need to, in character design at least, if your character is intentionally something which is out of proportion, then that is good. But if you want to make a character which is like properly chiseled or something, you need to have that proper foundation of art. And the tools you employ are determined mainly by your desired style, personal choice, and the file types you need. For example, some painting techniques such as watercolor can be produced on computer, although they usually look best when they are actually created in an original medium. So, and the character can again be in a lot of different ways. I had seen a character which was a puppet, and it was made out of these newspaper cuttings, and it was strawed together. And these ideas are, as you can explore anything you want. And finally, your decision should be based on your client or whoever you're basically working for, the kind of image that you need to have. Because currently, a lot of digital illustrations and everything is happening. So you need to maybe have those certain softwares. But if you're working on paper and pen, then that is really good. I will suggest once you are done working with paper and pen, you can actually do a digital scan of it and make some photocopies of it so that you have that one base ready, and then work on the character on those sheets so that no progress is lost. And yeah, coming to the conclusion. So yeah, in conclusion, character design is a crucial element in the creation of any story, game, or visual medium. A well-designed character can captivate an audience and make them emotionally invest in the story. While a poorly designed character can detract from the experience even if the story is good, because you will not connect with the character only. So when designing a character, it is very important to consider their personality, backstory, and the role within the story. What is their purpose? What are they there to, inform? What are they there to do? So this will inform their physical appearance, mannerisms, and other design elements. And your character design should be unique and memorable while also remaining true to their personality and the overall aesthetic of the project. Because everything at the end needs to feel like it belongs to one place. And it is very important to consider that uh, the audiences you are making the characters for, because you might make a strong character, but people might not relate to it because the story demands for something which is for a children's book, and similarly like vice versa. So it is very important to be mindful of the cultural and societal sensitivities when designing these characters, because sometimes people can find inspiration and sometimes people can draw comparisons to the characters that are out there. And this is just you need to be mindful to avoid these perpetuating harmful stereotypes or any offensive imagery that follows your character. Any questions on this?
Yes, sorry, I'm sorry, I was talking on mute.
Okay.
So here I have I think it's a very genuine question that teachers are saying, although students are good, but parents do not, it's hard to convince the parents. So how to convince parents that their child wants to build their career in this field? If we provide this type of education or this kind of skilling in school, because parents would not take it seriously. They still take math, science, physics, chemistry seriously, but somehow that character
Yeah.
design and creativity comes at the backseat. So what's your say on that?
True,
How to
true.
convince parents?
I think what I have experienced and what I've realized is, personality development is something which is way more important than any bookish information that is out there. And when you're doing a character design, it's more of like a personality exercise. It can mold you in a lot of different ways. And in general, I would just say design as a base is not just something which is, which can just be shelved as creativity. It is in general about problem solving. You see a problem and you have to come up with a creative solution for it, whether it's through storytelling or whether it's through making a character or anything creative in general. And for people who, I understand that people think that creativity sometimes takes a backseat compared to these things. But a lot of these courses, a lot of these exercises that are done in a creative field can open a person's mind in a very different way, in a very open way, which I don't think books can, because this is something which is like applying practical knowledge and applying all, very perspective driven approaches. You start to understand the way of the world and everything. It is a very big picture approach that is there. So I think we need to look at the bigger picture and, make a decision.
Right. Personality development is more important because, any career stream you choose, your personality matters. Absolutely. I agree with you. So, how can, you know, as we had also discussed it earlier, it develops the character designing, develops the personality of students as well. And they start to visualize themselves in a improved manner of themselves or an improved character of themselves. And of
Mhm.
course, then they can work towards it. How does character designing impacts in the chemistry equations when there is interaction and when they show what if this metal interacts with this, how you can explain that through character design or illustrations. I'll come back to it.
Mhm. Okay.
This is a question
I,
I'm sure from a chemistry teacher.
yeah, I think I can show this slide, where these particles are reacting. It can be like these two things that are forming. Say there is an ice cube and there is something else, and these things are running together. And once they, like they combine and they become gaseous form. So it can be explained to characters as well. So I think that can be a very funny way of showing and very interesting way of showing how a lot of different elements react when they are combined with each other and what they form. It can be very interesting.
Right, right, absolutely. And how about adding character design as a vocational subject in school? How will that impact the value of school? How will that increase the preposition of school and be more aspirational for students to get admission in?
Okay. I think because character design in itself can be, specialized as something which is uh, art combined with psychology, and this is something I think people overlook. So I think it needs to be expressed in that manner where it tells about a lot of things, and it is not just like sketching or uh, like something which is more of a skillful thing, but it is something which drives the person and makes it more informational as well. So I think that will hold more value if a lot of people saw it in a new light, rather than just thinking of it as a part of art subject or something like that.
Right. And what is the is character designing enhance the values and morals of students? Can teachers use character designing to enhance the values and morals of students?
Okay. So I think this is where we were speaking about the real life applications. And when you're doing the character design, you plan these things out. You plan the backdrop of this person. You plan the conflict, the pain points, the achievements, and everything. And this thing invests you in a more deeper and emotional level, and I think makes you a more understanding person as well. So in general, it takes your morale into like to a better level, to a new level, and makes you see things in a new perspective.
I agree. Yes.
Okay, so I can conclude this with one line there. So overall, our character design is a creative and challenging process that requires careful consideration and attention to detail. And when done well, it can elevate a project and make it truly memorable. So I think this covers all the things that we have spoken.
Right, sir. So, as a character designer, I've got
Yeah.
this question how your journey started from school till what you are today? And did you also face these challenges that students nowadays face? They are more into television and games and not in like sketching or something. So how has your journey been?
Okay. Um, so I was not necessarily like always good in sketching, but I was always a very curious kid. And I used to like read a lot of comics when I was young. And that was because I think my father had a lot of his old time comics, which were this Mandrake, Phantom, and all of that. And I developed a very keen interest in that. And I think at that point, a lot of these superhero shows and movies, cartoons, all of this also used to come. So I was very motivated with the superhero characters, first of all. And I used to just look at it and try to sketch it. So I guess that is where I got very interested in sketching. And as a school student, I always remember. So my teachers were very open about, like how it was, and I was not very much into studying. I was more towards like sketching and sports and everything like that. So I always used to have like whenever I used to give my copies for checking, I always used to have like some cartoon character or something drawn on the back side of the copies as well. So when they come back after getting checked, so there used to be remarks on the homework, and then when you see on the back side, there used to be remarks there as well, saying very good. So my teachers have always motivated me. They knew that what my strength was, and they always knew that I had a very keen interest on this. It's just I understood that what my whole skill set was and why what I was interested towards, and encouraged me to do that. So from designing these characters or just making these superheroes, I started understanding the functionality of things as well, that these things can serve a purpose as well. And that is where I started tapping towards like what are design problems, how we can solve them, and everything. And that is when I was introduced to how our illustrations can tell a story and how they can solve things. So yeah, I think I was pretty motivated from the start. It's just I have had a really good set of teachers who have molded me and who have put me on the right path. So I was very lucky about that.
I would also I would also want to ask a question. Now, we have already talked about what happened in the past. Now, let's talk about the future of this industry, because uh, as per AVGC policy, which has been made pretty popular by media nowadays, how do you see the future when we talk about creating characters, creating storyboards, or talking about storytelling? So, I mean, now storytelling is just more than films and advertisements nowadays. The storytelling is involved in so many scenarios. Even when we talk about character design, it is not just film, television, animation, or games, but even for branding purposes, all sort of corporate communication, creating mascots. There are so many ways in which character designs are also used. And even I've seen a lot of motivational speakers and public influencers actually using the core concepts of character design and applying it on themselves to create a sort of a persona.
Yeah.
So how do you see the future, and what kind of new job opportunities you think, new types of job opportunities that can come out when you have these skilled people who are coming out into the job market? Maybe students who are passing out from schools, or the graduates or higher education students once they complete their studies in the similar subjects. So what do you have to say about the future prospects?
Okay. I think in general, I see that creativity is being rewarded much more than it was before. And I'm very happy to see that. And not just for character design, I would say in general, design is booming in India, and I think it will continue to grow. From making products or from doing anything, character design, storytelling, whatever. I think the whole point is that we are trying to solve problems through a very creative medium now. And it wasn't being done before like that. We were doing it in a very systematic manner, but right now we are trying things. We are going out of the box. We are trying new approaches, and I think this kind of culture that is being introduced in the industry is going to just grow and become bigger and bigger. So for people who are opting for, say, character design or storytelling or anything, I would just say that the end goal for a designer per se is not to just create deliverables, but to solve a problem. Whether the problem can be solved through a character, through illustration, through branding, packaging, anything, I think that we need to see in a more holistical manner. But in general, I feel that in the coming days, in the future, we are going to see more and more of these creative approaches being taken forward.
Absolutely. And that makes actually, because everyone is not going to be a doctor, everyone is not going to be an engineer, and but everyone is creative.
True, true. Everyone has their own approach and their own way of solving the problem.
Yes.
And it's just like everyone started doing it in such a creative manner now. And I think the creativity is being rewarded. So that is a very good thing to see. And I think it's going to keep going on like that.
Absolutely. And we have Neeti ma'am also joined us. Neeti ma'am will request you for the closing remarks, please.
I think I was not able to completely be in sync with what was there, but I had, as I had said earlier, that I will go home and really go through the entire proceedings, and I think it would have been a very, very fruitful exercise for all of you, plus the participants who have been a part of it. And I hope we'll be getting the feedback, and all the participants. It is really requested that you should give your feedback, not only the positive or the negative, but a critical analysis, because so that the team can put in together more such platforms for you all, for your students, for the faculties, and whosoever you want. So please be free to let us know how did these events go. Unfortunately, because we are into a lot of parallel meetings that are going on side by side, हमारे पास वो privilege नहीं है that we can sit for the entire day, but we do have the privilege of being a part of these media technology scenario, where we can really go home and even lie down and click on the YouTube and know what has happened. So the same applies to all of you. Please take narrate your takeaways. Let us know what it is like, because I don't know whether all of you are aware, we do have a continuation of these series that will happen in a week's time, and I think it's on 17th and 18th, if I'm not wrong. And just go through the circular, and if you have not been able to register, do that and ask the others also who are interested into it. Stant must have done an excellent job. I had been, stepping in here and there and trying to see how it has happened. But we are in that technology where next time I would really like to have something. We go in a medium where we can also interact with the participants in the meantime. So at times that is a very good exercise, that once we are into Q&A sessions, instead of just on the chat or on the feedback, maybe we can just hold for a minute and try to have some question answers in between. So for us also, or for the ones who are delivering the sessions, it can also be a breather or an ice baking, and they would also be able to understand through the session how they have to go about. So that is something which I thought we can always proceed from here. And Gaurav, who's the person behind this entire show, I think he's a person who likes to be a little silent, but thank you, Gaurav. It is because
Thank
of
you,
you
ma'am.
that this wonderful session of 2 days have commenced, and hope to have many more. And more than that, what I really want is a big clap to all the participants who are here. And I'm 100% sure the ones who have logged in have stayed with us throughout these sessions and have taken away the best that they could from these sessions. Thank you so much, and hope to meet again on 17th, all of you.
Yes, sure, ma'am. Definitely. And we have a very interesting announcement for the next session.
Yes, we are so glad to inform ma'am that there are chances that our Honorable ex-Chairman Shri Subhash Ghai might join the session for some time on either Monday or Tuesday to share his words of wisdom.
Very good, very good. And so I think I would really want that we can make it in a mode where we have a few participants also can join in and be an interactive instead of just the panelists. So it would really, make more vibrant. If you see faces around, and then it just feels like you are in an offline mode. Abhi fir bhi humko webinar lag raha hai. We're talking with each other.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Right. Thank you.
On behalf of Media and Entertainment Skills Council, we wish to thank the entire team of CBSE. Ma'am, you have been very, very supportive always. And of course, Dr. Biswajit Saha ji and Alpi Singh sir, you guys have been encouraging and always motivating all of us. Thank you for your support. And we'd also like to share the feedback form. Feedback form is open now. You all can share your feedback. The genuine feedback is really appreciated, along with your suggestions, how we can make it more interactive, or even the topics that you would like to, go for in future.
Ma'am, Pooja ma'am, you can also share the email ID that has been created for this. I think Gautam sir knows about it. So if anyone has any queries, they would not be bothered, like they would just, try to call everyone and then there won't be any special answers to that. So if they have any issues, they can always mail it to us and then we'll answer that. So kindly share it on the chat and make that email ID available to them.
Absolutely. Along with that, I'd like to mention the question answer form will always stay active, and any questions if teachers might have missed, they can share the questions. We'll be in routing them to the speakers and they can maybe respond in a written manner.
Right. And I think I have one more thing which has just cropped up. Maybe Gaurav and others can brainstorm it. The ones who have given the feedback, or the ones who have put in some queries today, if next time when we start on a session on 17th, let them feature also in this session, and we'll take some queries from them live also, so that they also would be able to get to know the perspective of how the queries have worked out for everyone there. So if some good questions have come in, or some good feedback have come in, or critical or whatever, give them a platform also, so they can also be a part of the session in that way directly.
Certainly, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for being with us for the entire day, and your feedback is really important. I'll again show the feedback link for you all to do share your feedback. Your suggestions are really important to us, and even if you'd like to suggest some topics also that you would like to learn in future, that is also welcome. Thank you so much, and thank you Neeti ma'am and Siddhant for your valuable time.
Thank you, Pooja, for making this go so